It's your genes and how they interact with the environment, or it's what you're genetically predisposed to do. If you're in an environment that brings it out, that's what it does. When I took abnormal psychology class, the teacher of that class always said that it's not nature or nurture, it's a mix of both because it's about how the genes interact with the environment. But you know what? I'm starting to think he forgot the. I'm beginning to question that a little after this Tim Pool video I watched that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to show you the portion that really spoke to me about how what you're doing at 13 is what you're being trained to do as an adult. Let's watch and then we'll discuss.
Them, remember when History Channel was good? You want them to watch normal things that adults do, because the question is, or the point is this: a child is trying to learn to be a functioning human being in an adult human society. Exposing them to things that are only for children that they will never experience later in life means you are building the neurons in their brain, the neural pathways, for something that does not exist functionally. So I had a conversation in my 20s with this friend of mine, this woman.
So basically, children's media is detrimental to children. Got it.
And she was saying she hated her job and she didn't know what she wanted to do with her life. And I said, what were you doing when you were 13? And she was like, I don't know, nothing, hanging out with my friends. And I said, you want to run a bar? And she went, oh my God, I would love to run a bar. And I'm like, what you were doing when you were young, you were programmed to do. And this is why so many people like want to be at a bar all day and hang out at the bar and go to the bar. You want to hang out with your friends, all you want to do. It's like, okay, I get it. You want to go hang out and socialize because that's what you were doing when you were a kid. Well, guess what? Pro ball players were playing ball when they were a kid. When they were 7, they were in Little League. When they were 10, or when they were 7, they were T-ball. When they got older, they were in Little League. Now they're pro ball players. They love playing ball. They love talking sports. We had John Rocker on. Someone asked him about teaching kids pitching, and he went off on all the crazy technical details of pitching and the techniques. That's a dude who's been playing his whole life. But what happens when you're a kid? You do nothing until you're.
Yeah. You have to develop your interests at a young age as the. We have to develop your interests when you're young as the. What was his name? The astronomer from Majora's Mask said. He was right on the money about how you should develop your interests when you're young because it's clearly observable here that it follows you into later into life. Now, things can change. I'm well aware of that. But your brain is just wired that way, apparently.
5 years old, literally, kids do nothing. Maybe till you're 4 if you do preschool.
You don't really do nothing. I mean, you go around with your parents, you look at stuff.
It's actually the most important thing you can do.
You take them.
But what I mean is today, they're not doing that. The parents are handing a tablet to the child and saying, watch Miss Rachel, who sings songs and talks nonsense that the child will never use in their life.
Right.
And so the question is, I should put it this way, a viral video that everybody loves showed a bunch of kids in the 50s talking about post-World War II or something. And there's this little boy who's 8 years old, and he's talking quite like this. I think the interesting thing about the politics of Austria is that the current tax rate is driving. And all of these people were like, why do these children sound like adults? Because there was no children's content. The children only knew how to emulate adults, and so they behaved like adults.
When my son...
Yeah, they didn't have... Did they even have children's books back then? You know what? I'm going to ask Grok about that. Did children's books exist in the 1950s? Okay, so you had Dr. Seuss books back then. Wait, hold on. What about before? What about the 40s? 30s? Okay, children's media exists, but I think he's talking about children's media. Like, for context, earlier in the video, he was talking about the horrors of Coco Melon and Ms. Rachel he just mentioned. You know what? Let's finish the clip and we'll talk further about this.
7 years old, he was obsessed with the Titanic. It
Hmm.
was like every Titanic documentary, that's what he wanted to watch.
That's great.
I was buying him like the National Geographic books about the Titanic, and we would read about that. And then for a while, he was obsessed with like space exploration. So we were doing that, and he was like, I want to live in space. And I was like, okay, let's talk about that stuff now. You know, it was like, yeah, it's always key to make sure that you're giving your kids stuff that you can tolerate. Because the other thing, too, this is something that I remember Jordan Peterson saying: raise your kid as someone you like to be around. And like my kid
Yeah, I also just realized going to the likes of the Museum of Science, the Franklin Park Zoo, and the New England Aquarium is back in the day. Well, the New England Aquarium not as much, but the first two more often. That's what made me enjoy doing things like going to the Museum of Science, or going to museums, or going to zoos. But really, for me, it was in middle school when I started my first YouTube ventures, and then video production class in 8th grade, and then high school. That's why I should. That's why I'm still doing these videos to this day, or why I took up YouTube and why I refuse to give up on it, because that's what I was essentially trained to do. Just like how Tim Pool's friend was trained to socialize and such and hang out with friends. Yeah, today it's probably more that children today are being trained to use the tablets and play video games remotely instead of couch co-op. You know what? Let's just finish out the rest of the clip.
my favorite person to hang out with. You know, he'll be like, "Can we do something today, Mom?" And I'm like, "Oh, yay! Hey, let's do whatever you want."
It's
Go
like
do stuff.
there was a Family Guy joke from a recent episode where Stewie's rebelling. He's like, I'm going to play loud music. And so he puts on the Archie's Sugar Sugar.
Uh-huh.
And then Peter comes downstairs and he's like, my only problem with this is the volume. It's too quiet. He turns it up. And I'm like,
I thought it was that Bird is the Word song that he was into.
you know, I'm imagining, I suppose, you come home and the music's blasting and he's playing Zeppelin.
No,
And you're like, great.
You know what he does? He blasts Frank Sinatra, and sometimes the Beatles, and sometimes Steely Dan, sometimes
fantastic.
Weezer. Yeah.
Ooh, Weezer, I don't know.
Well, he likes it. I got tickets to. I'm taking him to.
Yeah, that would also explain why I like video game music, because I played video games, so my taste is admittedly, yes, the soundtracks of Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, or other Zelda games. You get the idea.
He's not crazy. He doesn't know them that well yet, but I'm taking him to the Pixies this summer.
I love that.
Wow. Does he listen to Sabrina Carpenter?
No, no, I don't think he knows who that is. He probably does because he goes to school. But I've taken him to Morrissey shows, and I took him to see the Shins, and his dad takes him to the symphony quite a bit. I mean,
Wow, that's
So he's
well-rounded.
going to be like the dude in the back of the room with the Kiss shirt on.
no, because he wears button downs.
Oh.
Right now, he's doing this Hawaiian shirt thing, but they're all muted. It's like light blue with navy blue sailboats.
Thanks for checking out this clip.
Yeah, that's the end of the clip. You get the idea. Basically, what you did as a teenager or younger, what you did in your childhood is training you for what you do as an adult and why you're conditioned essentially to do that. Yeah, not every kid who plays T-ball is going to join the MLB. Not every high school football player is going to be in the NFL. That's just the facts. I mean, look at me. I only have 90 subscribers on YouTube after 16 years of dipping my toe in. Well, I don't really commit as much. But here I am, still doing these videos because it's what I know how to do. So you know what? I think I'm going to wrap it up for the video. I would love to get abnormal psychology teachers' take on that clip I showed you. Because I would love to hear his responses. Or to see if he has it wrong, he'd be like, if it's wrong, he'll probably be like, oh no, that doesn't get the full context. See, it's your genes and how they interact with the environment. Or it's what you're genetically predisposed to do. If you're in an environment that brings it out, that's what it does. But you know what? I want to hear your opinions in the comments down below. What do you think of this? Do you agree that what you did what you were doing in your younger years is essentially training for your older years? Or do you have any disagreements? I'd love to hear it in the comments down below. So give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for daily videos, and I will see you soon.